everybody, welcome back to the Wonder of Anime YouTube channel. My name is Lisa and the time has come. You are not familiar, I am doing a Clamp reread series on this channel where I am rereading or sometimes just reading for the first time all of Clamp's works that have been published in the US, and it's been a journey. The video that I'm about to do today, the series I'm about to do today, is way overdue with how I was reading all of Clamp's things, but it's very dark, it's very deep, and I wasn't in a rush to do it because it's painful. But that's why we're here, and we're gonna revisit the pain together. And that series is X, also known as X 1999, per the original publication titles from the US publication from back in the 90s. With X, my first taste of X was back when I was in high school, and I got this lot of like 9 or so of the original publications, which are, did I not grab one? I don't think I grabbed the one from my bookshelf, but are these Americanized versions that are read like regular American books left to right, and they gave them all these like musical titles like Overture, Sonata, Intermezzo, and that was my experience with Clamp. I believe I got the lot. I got it from eBay. I think it's up to volume 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that. And I then completed the rest of what was available online. That would have been back in 2010, 2011. Then when I was in college, my freshman year, 2011, Viz Media re-released X in the omnibus versions that a lot of us are used to us today, which are the 3-in-1s. So I'm going to be honest with you guys, my volume of X Volume 1 I had since December of 2011 because somebody gave it to me as a Christmas gift. I read it maybe one time, and I reread it for this series, and the entire book fell apart. I don't know how, I don't know why. Like I said, I never touched this book until my rereading, and it has completely just fallen apart. Like this is crazy. I was reading it and the pages just start like coming undone. And I have as you can see, I have the rest of the omnibuses from 2 to 6 that I bought within 2020 and 2021 that I got of Right Stuff Anime, and I haven't read them yet. I've like flipped through them, so hopefully they're in much better quality. Like I said, this book is 10 years old, which is weird though because the books from the 90s are almost 30 years old at this point, and they're in like perfect condition. So I don't know what's happening with that one, but I did want to full disclose that my volume 1 is completely falling apart. But yeah, I read it in high school, but to be honest, I am completely devoid of what happens. I don't remember it that well. I know that back then I knew about the what's his name? I knew about the crossover with Seishiro and Subaru. Yeah, I knew about the crossover with Seishiro and Subaru, and that's pretty much all that I remembered, which actually worked perfectly for me in this reread series because I feel like while I know the main gist of everything that's going on, I'm familiar with the characters, it was like reading it for the first time. In this video, I will say that I'm going to be doing 6 parts of this video, 1 part for each omnibus because there are 3 volumes in each omnibus. I made the decision to do that because otherwise the videos would be super, super long, and there's just a lot going on in each volume, and I think this 6-part series is kind of like a nice little way to keep going and to make it not as long and boring each video. Now, before I give you a summary of what X, I'm gonna just give you a little bit of the history of with X. So X was published in Japan. It ran in how they serialize it in magazines from May 1992 to March 2003, which I don't know why I didn't think of that, because The end of the world in X is in 1999. And I don't know why I thought that it just stopped. My brain just stopped it in 1999. It definitely is one of the more controversial series, and it actually stopped being publicized, was put on indefinite hiatus because of the dark, really gruesome themes of the world ending. Which I get, especially, during that time when, Y2K and all that stuff, ain't nobody trying to be thinking about the end of the world depicted in your weekly manga magazine. As well as, I believe there had been some earthquakes that really devastated Japan. They kind of were just nah, we're not playing with this. Let's not play with this. We're not running this. So many fans, we always just wonder when X is going to be completed. And I think the thing is, it's almost at the end, and we just don't know which side is going to win. There is also an X movie and an X anime series that have completely different endings based on, they just made that up. I believe the movie was done in 1996, so a couple years before they had kind of any information where the series was going to go. And then the anime was made in the early 2000s. I haven't watched either of those, and I think I actually own the movie, and I have part of the DVD series for the anime. I am considering watching both of those mediums once I am done rereading X, just because I've never seen them, and I would love to do a comparison video, the manga versus the movie versus the anime. Getting into X, I'm just going to do a brief summary of basically the events that take place in volume 1 through 3, and I actually took notes for this because, girl, there ain't nothing that I don't do in my bullet journal. Starting off with volume 1, it starts off with this image of Kamui I have returned to Tokyo. Kamui is the son of a woman who was a single mother, and during his childhood, he had 2 childhood friends, Fuma and Kotori, and they were the best of friends. But after Fuma and Kotori's mom passed away mysteriously, then him and Kamui and his mother move away from Tokyo. And we see images of Fuma and Kotori missing him. They dream about him, and then he's back. The funny thing is that in their memories, Kotori has all these really lighthearted memories of Kamui, and then he comes back, and all these clips that we see of him is he's really mean, and he's kind of being this jerk. We see that he's being followed around by Shiki, which are fake figures, and he has powers, and he's fighting people. This volume really sets a lot of the scene on what the prophecy is with the end of the world. And all of these random people, all of these random characters keep coming out. We see Sora, we see this other guy, and basically it's just letting you guys know, okay, there is a premonition happening with the end of the world. Kamui has come back to Tokyo. He clearly is not the same person that Kotori and Fuma remember, this sweet-hearted person. He is kind of acting like an asshole, and that's kind of just what happens. So we get the information that there are these premonitions, something is going on for the reason that the world is ending, and that these people who are involved with the end of the world are gathering in Tokyo. In volume 2, Sora, who we meet at the end of volume 1, finally makes his way to Kamui and Fuma and them, and Kamui was walking home. He gets attacked. Fuma finds him, takes him back to the shrine where they live, and it's kind of Kotori's kind of looking after him, and Sora's kind of all right, listen, I'm coming in, I'm telling you, I am from a monk tribe. I've been sent here. All of this has been preordained. All of this is meant to happen. Kamui is having visions of the world ending, and him playing a key role in those visions. As we see it in the visions, there's somebody controlling the visions, kind of getting this information to Kamui, and that is Princess Hinata. In the visions, he becomes aware of her, which shocks her because she's how's he in the visions? And we get a lot of information. We see Hinata's camp, and she's talking about Kamui is the one who's going to save the world, and he's going to save the earth, and the 7 seals are going to be gathering around him. We also see then Konoe's sister, Hinata's sister, Konoe, who's the younger sister, and she looks very evil. She's very tall, she's very skinny, she has dark black hair, like this alluding the sexiness of evilness. And you know, we kind of get the information that she is on the opposite side of the 7 seals, and she's actually on the side of the 7 angels. Konoe seems to be the one gathering the 7 angels, who are opposite the side of Kamui and the 7 seals. Feels like at this point, these premonitions, Kamui's gonna have to make a choice to actively join these 7 seals and help them save the earth. Visions, the premonitions that we have are these like Tokyo in absolute ruins, and then you see all these hidden figures, and the only person's face that you can really make out is Kamui's face. Tokyo has been destroyed, and it's the end of the world that's coming by 1999, the promised day that's happening. At the end of volume 2, we see Fuma and Kotori's father bringing out this sword out, and we learn that the sword, Fuma and Kotori's mom was like the vessel for the sword, and he states that, you know, he sacrificed her for the protection of the sword because, spoiler alert, the sword was in her body. We'll get back to that. At the end, somebody comes, Nakoto, one of the 7 angels, and kills Fuma and Kotori's dad and steals the sword. And as Fuma walks in and sees the dad like passing away, the dad is saying, listen, Kamui, this is your destiny. You need to go and get back that sword. Fuma, you are Kamui's blank, passes away. That's how volume 2 ends. Then we go to volume 3. In volume 3, Hinata is having visions now, complete different visions from the prophecies that she's been having before, where instead of only seeing one Kamui, now she's seeing 2. And in these visuals of Kamui, the sword that was stolen, there's 2 swords, and we see a Kamui, one has feathered white angel wings, the other has like bat-like black wings. These premonitions that are happening are kind of like alarming her because they're very different from the visions that she was originally having and the information that kind of like was out there about these visions. We then meet Kamui's aunt, Tokitsuko, who is a school nurse, and she kind of seeks out Sora and Kamui and is like, hey, spoiler alert, I'm your aunt, and I got a lot of information for you about my sister who never mentioned me, never talked about me. You didn't even know I existed, but I am your aunt. And they go over to her house. She kind of lets them know like she's part of the Magami clan. Then Sora and Kamui feel a Kekai being placed. This is like a protective barrier. Since they are part of these 7 seals, they can feel when these things are activated. They leave Tokiko's house with the impression like, hey, we're gonna come back. But when they come back, she gone. The house is in flames. Somebody has either killed her or kidnapped her, and we see a beautiful woman sitting on top of a light pole in lingerie. Damn, like Kamui, you had this one family member, now she gone. So volume 3 ends with Fuma. Now he's having visions. Like this family, Kotori's having visions, Fuma's having visions. And Fuma first is having kind of like a flashback to his mother's death where she like exploded. Like her head was in one place, her arms like were in different places. This was very traumatizing to Kotori, so they lied to her and say she was just ill and died. But the real truth is that she exploded to release the sword that was inside of her. He's having these visions. Then he's also in the vision. Now I can't recall if this actually happened or if this is just Konoe messing with him because Konoe is feeding him these visions. We see a young Kamui pick up the mom's head and start like licking the blood, looking very evil. Then we see a premonition of Kotori being strung up very Christ-like on a cross covered in wires, and Kamui takes the sword that was just stolen and kills her and stabs her. And then she like also explodes. What is this women exploding theme here, Clamp? Konoe basically is telling Fuma, this could happen, but if you get involved and kill Kamui, this is not gonna happen. And that is how volume 3 ends. That's just basically a real quick summary. There's a lot of pieces that I've missed, but I'm under the impression that if you're watching this video, you are very familiar with the story. Those are just some of the key pieces of information that get you there. There is a lot of characters being introduced in these first 3 volumes. And one thing that I really appreciate about the reprint of this X, I'm going to do this, hopefully my book doesn't just crumble, is that at the end, there are these pages that, if I get to them, have a brief introduction of everybody that we've met, as well as what side are they on. Are they on the 7 seals? Are they on the 7 angels? And, you know, try and keep you in check, because there's a lot of information that has been going on. With the point of these video series, it's not me doing like a summary, it's more me doing analysis. So let's jump into the analysis part. For me, there is a lot of main takeaways from the X universe and the X storyline. Obviously, we have the storyline of the end of the world. There's a promised day that is supposed to happen in 1999. All of these people, 7 seals, 7 angels, are gathering, and they need to pick a side, which more information is later on revealed. At this point yet, we don't know, you know, why there's angels, why there's seals. This is destined. But the one thing, especially with Clamp, and they have a big theme about destiny, things being preordained, is that things change, right? So Hinata is envisioning the world ending and Kamui's involvement in that. Kotori has also been having dreams of the world ending, and she sees herself as a figure of protecting that. But then we see the difference in the vision from volume 1, that Kamui is there to save the world. There's just one Kamui. He needs to join the 7 seals. And then we are in volume 3, we're met with the fact that now there are 2 Kamuis. So we see that the visions are changing, and it kind of leads you to believe, okay, are the visions correct? Because Sora, who comes from this monk tribe, is saying that, you know, all of this stuff, the sword being taken, the father dying, all of this was predetermined. You know, the stargazers saw this. But if the stargazers saw this, why didn't Princess Hinata and Kano see this? So that's kind of one of the bigger themes, where it's like, is destiny ever changing? Are things that are coming supposed to change these things? Are Hinata and Kano limited in their visions, and the stargazers saw more? Because it feels like things are happening that Hinata and Kano aren't expecting, but Sora said that the stargazer predicted that. Another thing that we see are people's true motivators versus wrong or right. And Sora, one of the 7 seals who is introduced in this, is one of the biggest characters that shows this, in terms of him believing his whole life that this is the information that was given to him. He's known since he was a child that he was going to play a role at the end of the world, and he just is going along with it, and he is part of that. And it's one of those things where I don't necessarily know if he understands what side he's on or what's happening, but he just feels like that is his fate and his determination. We also see Arashi, who is this beautiful young girl. She also has a sword that comes out of her hand, and she's on with Princess Hinata, and she kind of just accepts all the information that's given to her, and she knows that she has this role to play. Then we see the angels like Satsuki and Yuto, and what are their motivations, right? Like, we don't really know, but they seem to be a little bit more like, we in this kind of like vibes. And that's where it goes into where everybody's handling the information differently. As I said, while I was describing what happened to Kotori's mom and then the visions of Kotori, is that stuff be happening to these women. And you know, they were not playing when, you know, Clamp really was not playing with the gore and the level of violence that is shown. And I think it's very interesting just the role that women play in X. We see in X where the women play these key roles. Like, yes, the story is about Kamui, and, you know, we're foreshadowing right now Fuma's involvement, but The women are the ones having the visions. Hinata Hinoto, she's the one with the visions. She's the princess at the bottom of the Diet building, and she controls like the prophecy of Japan and all these like government officials. And then we have Kano, her younger sister, who also has these visions, and they both seem to have the power to influence these visions when they're shown to other people like Kamui and Fuma. Then we have Kotori, who also can see visions, and she is seeing herself as the main character in the vision, where she has to protect what's going to happen to the earth. We also see, Satsuki, who's like this badass, with this computer. The computer is in love with her. Arashi, she has this sword that comes out of her hands. Of course, Kamui's mom, Fuma's mom, and then the aunt, Tokiko, they all also play a big role in this too. So it's like, yes, this is the story of Kamui, down the line Fuma, but the women really are here still in the show, and it's just incredible. With these first 3 volumes of X, I had really forgotten how deep, how dark, how serious this gets, like immediately from day one. It's just so intense, and I love it. I'm here for it. At the time, I can see that being very, very deep and dark. But now, in 2021, where we have like Jujutsu Kaisen and all of these like horror anime and gruesome things, like it seems very, like it's still gruesome, but to me it just definitely does not seem as dark as it may have been during that time. But that may be some, being desensitized on my part, just because now, violence and darkness and all that is very common in media nowadays, not just anime. It's very interesting as well, because since I have a collection of knowledge of what goes on after, in the next couple volumes, seeing Kamui in his form right now, where he's really pretending to be like this tough guy, I'll kill you, and then he's like ignoring Fuma and Kotori, and we have glimpses of his soft side as he's dealing with losing his mom 2 weeks before coming up to Tokyo, knowing that Fuma and Kotori lost their mom. Now the dad has passed away. Like, we're seeing glimpses of his soft side, which is Kamui's true nature, but we're not there yet. Like, we're not there where he's fully at this soft side of himself, and he really doesn't know what's going on. And in these first 3 volumes, I really felt for him, because he just lost his mom. He goes to Tokyo because that's kind of like the information that he has, and he gets to Tokyo, and all of these people, all of these strangers are coming to him and telling him, hey, like, we're on your side, we're involved with the end of the world. I get it, Kamui, it's a lot to handle. As I wrap up this video, I, of course, I'm going to have a lot more thoughts as the other volumes piece together, and I'm sure at the end of my series I will have a more fleshed out thought of everything that's going on. Right now I just feel very motivated to keep reading and just picking up on a lot of things that I definitely missed when I was younger, and I'm seeing things definitely in a lot of light, because of course we know the prophecies and the abrasiveness of Kamui, but now that I'm older, like, I'm seeing he's scared, he's sad, he lost his mom, guilt, like, you pick up on a lot of more human characteristics the older that you get, and you can empathize in that, whereas 18, 16, 17-year-old Lisa reading this did not, and it's very interesting to say the least. But I'm gonna leave it there for now, because there's so much more to the story to go. But this has been part 1 of my X Reread series. I know this is kind of funny. I always like summarizing it in my way, because I think those are like the best parts of videos, to be honest. But I am, curious, has anybody reread this recently? Obviously, I'm just right now in this video talking about volumes 1, 2, 3. So if you have any thoughts on volumes 1, 2, 3, the volumes that take place in Omnibus 1, which my Omnibus 1 is looking very sad and falling apart, I would love to know your thoughts in the comment below. Next, we're going to come up with volume 2. Like I said, I read this omnibus probably when I first got it about 10 years ago and have not read it since. So I have also, after this, have not read volumes 4 to 18 in over 10 years since I was in high school. So I'm very, very excited to see what that looks like, and the rest of the events, piecing together what I remember versus what actually happens in each volume. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.